Oh.
Uh-oh.
I believe in a thing called beer.
It's pretty good.
Just listen to the rhythm of your heart.
Stop singing. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Abyss. Got an ice-cold beer here. Highwayman. God damn it. Highwayman Pilsner. It's actually really good. It's smooth. From Roadhouse Brewing Co.
I don't like this.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't like it. Like, it's not bad, but it's not particularly good.
I mean, it's not the best beer we've had. I wouldn't say it's bad, though.
It's definitely got a pungent taste.
Pungent.
For a Pilsner.
Which is pungent for a Pilsner. All right. So, jumping into things here. No new scary movies on my side. I don't know about you. I know we don't really...
No, nothing cool. Nothing.
Nice. All right. But to start things off, I think we've had a pretty good week for the show. We actually got 2 paid sponsors for the show. Claytor, Lord of Soup, love the name, and Curtis and Laura.
Yeah, we increased our revenue by 50%.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It's going to fund our Halloween episode. It's going to fund our clown episode.
Yeah.
Which we're slowly chipping away a little balance in there to cover for 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And some spooky shit.
And a camera.
But remember, we're waiting till we get 500 subs on YouTube, so if you're listening to us on Spotify, maybe go over there and sub.
Yeah, we're at like 326 on YouTube, right? Last time I checked, somewhere around there. We're getting pretty close.
We're at 463.
Wait, what?
Sorry.
I was like, no, we're not.
We're at 363.
Okay. So we're getting pretty close. So yeah, get us out there, because if you want to watch Cleet and I go to this clown motel, which will happen, subscribe on YouTube and get us a couple rooms there. But for this week, we found some stories online, 54 of them to be exact, that will make you shit your pants. But yeah, we just wanted to do a little spooky storytelling, and then next week, just for a little bit of a teaser, if you will, we're jumping back into aliens because one of our newest paid sponsors sent us an interesting story that they had, along with some suggestions, and a suggestion for a new drink.
Oh, yeah, we'll be bringing on a special drink next week, and I really like the alien theme, so I'm really excited for it. So if you guys like aliens, definitely make sure you stay tuned next week for our episode. Keep it posted, be ready for it.
Yeah, well, stay tuned for this episode, too. Like, don't just leave and then come back next week, unless that's your thing. Then that's fine, too.
I only listen to aliens. Fuck this.
Yeah, it's like, if it doesn't contain an alien, which I think a lot of our episodes contain the word alien in it, because a lot of the conspiracies are aliens. That's just how it goes. Do you want to start with me, too?
I'll start. All right, the first story is called Help Me.
Oh, starting off with a bang.
A few years ago, my boss went to a holiday for a couple of weeks to Spain. Midway through the holiday, he got a phone call from the police informing him that his sister had passed away in a fire in her flat.
Oh, man.
So he rushes back home early, deals with the police and the passing and everything. My employers told him to take some time off to grieve, which he duly did. When he came back to work on the Monday morning a few weeks later, we invited him into our coffee room to talk and offer our sympathies. About half an hour later, he excuses himself to start work. He walks into his office, sits down at his desk, turns on his computer, and checks to see if there's any answer phone messages. And the very first message that he plays is his sister, oh God.
Oh, Jesus.
Screaming down the phone, help me, I'm trapped, I can't breathe.
What the
Oh my God, that's dark. Still sends chills down my spine to think about it. As you can imagine, he was pretty traumatized.
Yeah. All right, this one's called The Voice. My grandfather told me this story about how one time he was sitting in a chair in front of the house when he heard his wife repeatedly calling him from inside the house. The thing is, my grandmother passed away a few years before that. But he told me that the voice was so pressing that he actually got up to look inside the house, and as soon as he got inside, he heard a loud crash behind him and turned around to see that the chair he was been sitting in moments ago had been crushed by the cast iron gutter that fell on it. Damn. If he didn't come inside the house, he would have probably been seriously injured. Every time I think about it, sends chills down my spine.
It was his guardian angel, looking out for him. This one is Car at the Red Light. Driving home with a buddy from high school summer job at the local amusement park, It's about 3 in the morning, and there's no traffic at all. Get stuck at a red light that never ends, and while we're waiting, another car pulls up to us. A big black hearse, in immaculate condition, with a clown in the driver's seat.
What?
With full-on makeup and costume on. He never moved, didn't look at us, nothing. Just stared straight ahead the whole time. So this guy is just trying to get to his job, his night shift
Driving
job.
his nice hearse.
Yeah. And these guys are harassing him and being afraid of him, and he's just being a professional clown.
He's like, don't look over there. Don't look over there. Just keep your eyes ahead. Just keep your eyes ahead.
I won't give him the satisfaction.
I won't look. All right, this is called I Just Need a Haircut. I was an RA in a dorm for 2 years in college. A girl who had been having stress issues finally snapped. She was found by someone in a dark stairwell. I was in an older dorm, circa 1887, so there were plenty of nooks and crannies. By the time she was found, she had already torn out over half of her hair and had eaten it.
What?
She just kept on saying, I just need a haircut.
Get scissors.
In a perfectly normal voice. It took 6 of us and the police sedating her to finally get her strapped down to an ambulance gurney. To this day, I can't forget how powerful she was. She couldn't have weighed over 120 pounds, yet she had this sort of superhuman ability to rip her arms away, to tear out another clump of hair and stuff it into her mouth. All with a perfectly straight face.
Yeah, she had the demons in her. That's what's going on.
I mean, to have to rip hair out of your scalp like that and then just eat it, like dry?
All right, next one.
That's horrible.
Next one, apocalypse is coming.
Okay.
In September 2014, a Utah boy discovered his parents and 3 brothers deceased after arriving home. The Salt Lake Tribune reported finding a to-do list in the house, which included tasks like feed the pets and find someone to watch the house written on it. The found list gave the impression that the parents were preparing to go on vacation. However, there was no suicide note, no warning that they would do this, and no explanation. After autopsies, it was revealed that the 5 family members consumed a lethal concoction of drugs that September day. However, why and how the parents and kids consumed the drug remained a mystery. Sometime later, police revealed more terrifying information about the case. According to family members' statements, the parents' motivations included believing that the world's end was near and frequently spoke of leaving this world. Apparently, scared of the apocalypse, the parents poisoned the kids and themselves. Do you remember when you were little? You might have been too young for this because I'm older.
By like a year or two.
I'm like 4 years older than you, man.
How old are you?
34.
I'm 31.
Okay, 3
I'll be
years.
32 in
That's
October.
significant. Like if I was 10 and you're 7.
Okay.
Do you remember like there was like a famous comet that was passing around when we were really young, like maybe 10 or 11? And there was like that cult that believed that there was a spaceship behind it. And they all killed themselves. It was like really famous. They drank the poison. There was like a cult in California.
It's not the Kool-Aid.
It's not Jim Jones, but it was like a legitimate cult in California. They thought there was an alien ship behind this, like comet or asteroid.
Oh.
And if they killed themselves, their souls
Yeah.
would be sorry, they're idiots.
What was the...
Would be able to go behind the asteroid.
Sorry, they're idiots.
And go into that craft.
What was it called? What was the cult called?
Heaven's Gate.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, yeah. So
The guy looked like the guy from Star Trek, the turtle looking one.
Yeah. I don't know the name, but yeah. So there's a show on Netflix actually called it's like How to Become a Serial Killer or something, or How to Become Something, and it talks about Heaven's Gate in detail. The guy was fucking whack job, man.
Little known fact, their website's still operational, and if I think you send them emails, someone responds.
We need to subscribe. Subscribe to Enter the Abyss. We talk about aliens all the time. Okay, this is called The Perfect Crime. On November 10th, 1923, Nathan Leopold committed to travel 6 hours from Chicago to the University of Michigan, accompanied by his friend and lover, Richard Loeb. They intended to break into Loeb's former fraternity, but all they had taken was a typewriter, a few watches, some penknives, and around $80 in loose change. Leopold was agitated on the way back to Chicago because the robbery had been a big effort for a small payoff. When Leopold finally stopped complaining, Loeb began to discuss his idea of committing the perfect crime. While they continued to travel through the country roads towards Chicago, they broke into several homes and started a few fires, but none of their crimes had been published in the media. Loeb desired to commit a crime that would create a huge buzz: abduction and homicide of a child. Ugh.
What? No.
After plotting their plan through the winter, in May, they kidnapped the child and they had a wealthy father who would pay the ransom. Following the abduction, they beat the boy's skull with a chisel, jammed a rag down his throat, and disposed of the body. When the two returned to the city, Leopold dropped the ransom letter into a post box. However, their plan to execute the perfect crime failed. The following day, a passerby spotted the child's lifeless body, and soon the police traced Leopold by finding his eyeglasses he dropped near the body. What an idiot.
How is this the perfect crime?
Yeah. I mean, this is what, back in 1800?
It's the perfect crime no one will know.
I'm just going to leave my glasses right here.
I dropped my wallet. Oh well, let's keep doing it.
God damn it. On May 31st, 10 days after the homicide, both young men came clean and revealed to the state's attorney how they had slayed Bobby Franks. Nathan Leopold confessed that they had killed Bobby only for the thrill of it. At the time of the murder, Richard Loeb and Nathan Leopold were 18 and 19 years old. They were sentenced to 99 years in prison. Just make it 100. What is up with this fucking round-ass 99 bullshit?
You just buy a new wood chipper. All right, this one is the cell phone stalker. In 2007, ABC News reported a series of ominously precise grave threats made to different families via cell phones. The families claimed that the calls, which threatened to slay their children, pets, and grandparents, came any time at night. According to one family, the caller seemed to know when the kids left for school and when they were home alone. Families also received voicemails with recordings of their private conversations. According to the victims, the caller was aware of their activities and what they were wearing. The family of Courtney Kuykendall, 16, said that her cell phone started sending text messages to her friends by itself. Yeah, my ass.
Oh my God.
In February.
I don't know. My cell phone just started to send text messages and dick pics.
Might have been one of those cell phone ghosts, which is when the family's problems begin. The Kuykendall family also reported a caller having a scratchy voice and threatening to slice their throats, which continued for months. Another victim reported receiving a call from an unknown caller saying they preferred lemons when the woman was slicing limes in her kitchen.
Jesus.
I prefer
limes.
Lemons. Oh. The police couldn't find the perpetrators.
All right, this one's called Anonymous Caller. Around 1980, a single mother of a toddler, Dorothy Jane Scott, started getting threatening phone calls at work. She paid the calls little attention until one night when the ominous voice on the other end of the line instructed her to look outside.
What's your favorite scary movie?
On her car's windscreen was a single withered rose. The stalker would alternate between declaring his love for her and making threats of physical harm. The caller's voice sounded familiar, but Dorothy couldn't place who it was, and she never got to find out. At a staff meeting, Dorothy noticed that one of her coworkers appeared unwell. She and another coworker took the man to a neighboring hospital. Dorothy went outside to the parking lot with her two coworkers, waited for the prescription to be filled. She wasn't seen again after that. According to her coworker's testimony, they went outside to meet her in the parking lot after she didn't return. They suspected a problem had occurred with her son when they spotted her car rushing away as soon as they left the building. Neither her son nor anyone else ever saw or heard from Dorothy again. Her burned remains were discovered at a construction site 4 years later. The discovery of a collection of dog bones next to her remains added even more confusion to the case. No one has ever been found guilty or detained on suspicion. The caller has never been located.
What in the world?
A bunch of fucking dog bones next to it?
I used to work in a hospital in the IT department, and we did a number of overnight rollouts, as well as on-call work/response when issues occurred overnight. Many weird things happened or appeared to happen. The thing that stuck out to me as oddest was when I saw the coroner running at full speed down the corridor in the opposite direction towards the morgue. This guy, an older guy in his 50s or so, was going at full speed. I had never seen him above an amble before, but this time he was really going for it. As we got close to me, he yelled, "Out of my way! I got another live one!" I was not sure what was more disturbing, the fact that he was dealing with what I could only assume was a deceased body that now appeared to be alive, or the fact that he said another.
All right, this is called America's Unknown Child. In February 1957, in Philadelphia, a college student discovered a young boy's remains in the woods and called the police to report his horrifying find. Visibly severely beaten, the boy was found unresponsive inside an old bassinet box. No one knew who the young victim was. Numerous people came forward with information about the crime. Still, the police could not verify any of their claims, and many theories were dismissed. However, the media and police have shown much interest in two theories. Each one has been thoroughly examined. In February 2002, a woman only known as Martha brought forward one of the main chase theories. Martha asserted that the boy named Jonathan was bought from his biological parents in the summer of 1954 by her violent mother. She claimed that the boy experienced physical and carnal torture inside the home. Martha knew of information that had not been made public, raising the police's attention to her statement. The woman claimed that the young boy had baked beans just before being battered to demise, supporting the autopsy findings. She also said that he had been showered just before he passed away, which was consistent with the coroner's discovery of water-pruned fingertips. Although Martha's testimony appeared consistent with the evidence, her extensive history of mental illness rendered her an unreliable witness. The case stays unsolved and is open to this date. The boy remains unidentified, and his grave in Philadelphia at Ivy Hill Cemetery has a large headstone bearing the words, America's Unknown Child.
Sad. All right, this one is the botched exorcism of Kennedy Ife.
Oof.
On August 2016, Kennedy, 26, of North London, reportedly started acting strangely and aggressively after experiencing throat pain. Before the family restrained him to the bed using cable ties and excessive force, he allegedly bit his father, threatened to cut off his own penis, and spoke of having a python or snake inside him. So clearly,
Damn.
that python is. Anyways, according to his brother, Kennedy needed to be restrained because he would hurt either himself or his family members. After Kennedy had been confined to his bed for 3 days, his brother called emergency services and explained that he'd been complaining of dehydration. When the emergency services arrived, he was pronounced deceased at 10:17 a.m. The court was informed, and the family spent those 3 days trying to heal Kennedy through restraint and prayer. All 7 of Kennedy's relatives were charged with manslaughter, false imprisonment, and allowing a vulnerable adult to pass away. Kennedy's body had over 60 wounds, including what seemed to be a bite. Who bit him? Himself? I don't know. On March 14th, 2019, following a 4-day jury deliberation, all 7 family members were found not guilty of manslaughter.
Damn. Okay. All right, this is called The Only Passenger. If you've ever been to Portland, or you know that our public transportation system is pretty nice, and the MAX system has a tram that runs between the airport and the city center until fairly late at night. I was coming home from seeing my family at Christmas, and my flight came in very late, so I was lucky enough to catch the last MAX home. Because it was so late, it was just me, and a guy who looked homeless sitting a few seats ahead of me. He was sleeping with his head against the window. I paid little attention to him, but noticed his head lolling around and wondered if he was wasted. I think he's dead.
It's the meat train. Midnight meat train.
Anyway, we get to the city center, and there are cops waiting there because apparently the homeless guy sitting in front of me is being escorted off the tram. Airport security had tried to get him off before and thought he was ignoring them and refusing to move. And that's when both the cops and I find out that the guy had been deceased the entire time. He had overdosed at some point before the MAX even arrived at the airport. We had been riding on that dark midnight ride alone together, with one of us fairly deceased.
Just chilling on the public transport with dead people.
No free rides.
But this one is the last door on the left. My grandmother's entire life had a recurring nightmare. In this nightmare, she would be walking down a long, dark hallway, turn to the left, open a door, and see something terrible. She'd always wake up before seeing what it was. In her 40s, she, her husband, my dad, and my aunt were on vacation. They booked the hotel, the last minute, so they ended up having to get 2 rooms with 2 twin beds on opposite sides of the floor. My dad wakes up around 3 a.m. and can automatically tell something is not right. He calls out in the darkness, "Dad?" No response. He turns on the bedside light. "Dad?" he says, a little louder this time. Still no response. Getting worried, he slides out of bed and shakes his father. He doesn't wake up. My dad ran down the hotel hallway to my grandma's room and started banging on the door. My grandma wordly opens the door, and my dad shouts, "Something's wrong with Dad." He leads her down the hallway, a long hallway, to the last door on the left. My grandmother reaches the door, turns to the left, and sees her husband, deceased in bed, heart attack.
Damn.
She never had that dream again. Sad.
Good Lord. Have you seen The Last House on the Left? The horror movie?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome.
With the southern people?
Yeah. This is called The Monkey Bars. Finding a woman who had committed suicide by hanging herself from the monkey bars of a park I used to work at 6:15 on a very foggy morning. When I got to the gate of the park to open it, park maintenance worker, I could see her 100 yards away at the playground and thought she was just standing there looking at the ground with her umbrella on the ground beside her. It was only when I got closer that I realized she was hanging from a jump rope 6 inches off the ground. My voice was very shaky during my 911 call. The dispatcher asked me to touch her to see if she was cold. She was very cold, very wet, had been raining all night. The fucked up part is that this park is very close to an elementary school, and the parking lot is a popular place to drop kids off at. And it was a weekday. And that would ruin a lot of kids' mornings. But when I was a kid, our elementary school had a farmhouse in front of it, like across the street. And one of my most vivid memories is getting dropped off at the school and all the kids like pointing and laughing. I turn around and there's these horses just going at it, man. It was like the most insane thing I've ever seen. All the kids like, "What's happening?" It's like, you know what's happening.
Yeah, he knew. I would have just been, that's what I would have said to him.
No, you wouldn't have.
All right. This next one is Horror Behind the Walls. In 2015, the Bretzus family in Auburn, Pennsylvania wanted to insulate their home. While doing so, they soon discovered that their wall cavity had been used to store dozens of deceased animal carcasses,
Oh, Jesus.
half-used spices, and other items. Other than that, the deceased animals were all wrapped in newspaper from the 1930s and 40s. After discovering all the deceased animals, the family sent the artifacts to a specialist to learn why someone would leave them in the house's walls. The expert claimed that the previous owners were most likely using Dutch magic, often known as powwowing.
What?
That's what it says, powwowing.
Gotta do some powwowing.
To treat ailments. The Bretzius family still doesn't know by whom or why animal carcasses were stuffed into the house's walls. They also claim that the mold on the decaying corpses in their home made them sick, and that the odor just wouldn't go away.
Yeah, that's gonna make you sick.
Oh my God.
It's gonna make you sick. You don't insulate your walls with animals.
Just keeps it so goddamn warm.
All right, this is called the rocking horse. One night when I was maybe 10 or 12, I had trouble falling asleep. My bedroom was the entire top floor of our house, with my bed and such being on the left side, and storage closets and a play area being on the right. I was lying in bed when I heard a noise from the other side of the room and seeing a rocking horse begin to rock. It was sitting just outside one of the storage closet doors. It proceeded to rock its way halfway across the room and stopped dead under the ceiling light. At this point, I was freaking out and just buried my head under blankets, never peeked out again until morning. It was all confirmed to not be a dream, as the rocking horse was still in the middle of my room when I woke up. Furthermore, I got a stern reprimand from my parents for being up and out of bed, playing with my toys well past my bedtime. Their bedroom was directly below the storage closet and play area, and had heard the creaking of the rocking horse shuffling across the room. I mean, your parents aren't going to believe that some ghost just decided to, like, rock in the middle of the night.
Me. A ghost framed me.
A ghost just dragged it and put it in the middle of the room. They're like, yeah, sure. No more Coke before bed for you.
Coca-Cola?
Yeah, no, cocaine.
It's a weird...
Coca-Cola, yes.
Okay, all right. Could have said caffeine. You could have said soda, but you said
So,
Coke.
Coke.
The next one is the baby monitor. This isn't something I've heard from my kids' room, but it was something creepy heard over a baby monitor. I did at-home care for a little while, and there was this one client I had a couple of years ago. The lady I assisted had dementia, and she was just at the point where the good old days were fading. We had a baby monitor in her room so we could hear when she was waking up. I'll go ahead and mention that we also had bells pinned to her sheets so that when she was trying to get up on her own, fall risk, we would hear the bells jingle. It was common to hear her down in the room talking to that man, asking, "Who are you? And what is it?" to an empty room. One evening, she and I were in the living room together by ourselves, and I heard the bells start jingling on their own over the baby monitor. There was no ceiling fan, the AC wasn't running, and no windows were open. I always had bad feelings in her house, with things like cabinets opening and one really creepy time where it sounded like footsteps coming down the hallway, which really scared me. I'm honestly glad I will never have to go into that house again.
Well, damn. All right, this is the Ammon's haunting case. An article about a family frightened by 3 purportedly demon-possessed kids appeared in the Indianapolis Star, now the Indy Star, in 2014. Concerned mother LaToya Ammons turned to the police, and Gary Police Captain Charles Austin took the case. Austin said it was the strangest story he had ever heard. He initially thought the Indianapolis resident LaToya Ammons and her family made up a complicated story to make money. Austin changed his views after numerous visits to their house and discussions with witnesses. LaToya Ammons and her family's story contains unsettling accounts of kids scaling walls, levitating above their beds unconscious, abruptly passing out, and speaking in demonic voices. Ammon's mother also remembers waking up in the middle of the night and seeing a shadowy figure of a passing man and then finding large, wet boot prints. Still, the family's bizarre occurrences, either brought on by a pattern of delusion or demonic possessions, led to one of the strangest instances the Department of Child Services has ever dealt with. The news site received nearly 800 pages of official papers that provided a detailed account of several of the occurrences, and more than a dozen interviews with police, DCS employees, psychologists, family members, and a Catholic priest.
All right, this one is called Scary Anecdotes. So I collected some stories from my friend and my girlfriend, and I would like to share them here and know your opinion. These are my girlfriend's anecdotes. One night, while trying to sleep, she heard noises at her door, and as if something was climbing onto her table. As this was happening, the room grew darker. After a while, she heard that thing leaving. 2, when I was trying to sleep with her after getting into bed, she claimed to see something peeking on the shelf above us.
No.
Peekaboo. 3, once she felt like someone was sleeping next to her. 4, sleep paralysis. She saw someone in her room while being unable to move, but according to her, it wasn't a typical case of sleep paralysis. 5, she felt something moving in her bed, like a cat. The most recent antidote... The antidote.
Antidote.
What will you not give your wife? You said the antidote. Right. Anyways, according to her, there is a ghost in her house. I don't believe in ghosts, but I don't think she's lying to me. I need to know if anyone has experienced something similar and what your opinions are. Now, let's move to my anecdotes from my friends. The first one told me that one night he saw white lights in the forest. According to him, they didn't seem like artificial lights. I suppose he means that they were from something natural like a fire or a reflection. They were barely noticeable and lasted only a few seconds. They moved slowly. When he moved, the lights stopped, and seconds later, they turned off. When he moved again, the lights reappeared but red, and he ran away. This one is a bit more special. A buddy who usually spends summers on the outskirts of a village told me how, from time to time, remains of dead animals would appear. No one was concerned until people started to talk about a nearly whole flock of dead sheep. That in itself is quite strange, but the worst, it just becomes worse. A bull was found dead in the middle of a crop field. The weirdest part is that there are no bulls or cows near that area. There were tracks and signs of a struggle, but the trail disappeared near a secondary road. On the same day, a neighbor told them how some men in suits loaded up a bull's remains onto a truck and left while the police were talking to some neighbors. So, those are interesting.
This one's called My Little Sister and I Are Convinced We Met the Devil. Okay, so I'm staying in a Canadian big city, traveling with my little sister. It's summer and the weather's gorgeous. I'm gonna say we were walking down the street when this encounter happened, but I'm not entirely sure about that. To tell you the truth, all this was 2 or 3 years ago now. There are details that I'll remember until the day I die, but the rest has already begun to fade. We stopped at a dispensary to buy some pre-rolls. Then the two of us parked ourselves on the sidewalk and went to smoke them. We were close to our hotel, and once we got there, we knew there'd been an elevator ride between us and our addiction, so we were planning to stand around a while and chain smoke for a bit. I've got my lighter in my hand, but I haven't ignited it yet. Wait, before I continue, I may have to describe this lighter to you because it actually might matter, in some terrifying symbolic way. I just bought it in anticipation of these pre-rolls, maybe a half hour before meeting the man I believed to be the devil. The lighter had a Keith Haring print on it, often called the three-eyed monster. Here's an explanation I just cut and pasted from Google. The smiley face is another frequently used character found in many of Keith Haring's works. This icon, the three-eyed face, is a mysterious figure, often associated with greed and excess. Alternatively, his character has been used to represent the unknown. Okay, back to the story. I've got my lighter in hand, but I haven't ignited it yet. The exact moment I flick the flame, I see a suited man exiting the 5 guys we're standing in front of. My first thought, the moment I saw him, was, but he doesn't eat. When I recalled that thought later on, safe in our hotel, it made my skin feel cold all over. The suited man acknowledges no one as he storms out of the burger joint. He simply raises his hand high as if hailing no taxi in particular and demands, "Lighter!" This aloof behavior is kind of bemusing to me, so I wave at the suited man, offering the service of my lighter. He walks toward us slowly, much too deliberately, and the two of us already begin to recoil a little at his aura. His suit is meticulous. I've never seen a fabric exactly like it. It's a dark blue color with thin silver threads. A $10,000 to $20,000 suit isn't a strange thing to see in the big city, but this one stands out somehow. I hate including this detail in my story because it seems like the most hack way a writer would describe the devil's attire, but I have to, because it feels important to be honest about it. The suited man stopped in front of me and said something. I don't remember what. Just a few words of relatively normal small talk, I think. I want to say he asked, "What are you doing in the city?" But that could just be my imagination filling in what I've forgotten. While he spoke, I watched the suited man...
No.
That's what you get. While he spoke, I watched the suited man reach into the breast pocket of his suit and retrieve a comedically short cigar stub. There was barely any cigar left to smoke, and he hadn't even cut the ash from the tip. Somehow, this last detail didn't seem to produce any mess whatsoever. The suited man took my lighter and lit his cigar stub effortlessly, like it was only a cigarette. Not once had he glanced at my little sister, by the way, who was standing directly beside me. That registered as odd to me by this point. Really odd. After inhaling, he took over the lighter for a long moment, then announced, "I like your lighter." His eyes don't seem pleased, though. I can tell he was about as impressed by Keith Haring's artwork as I am. "How much do you want for it?" the suited man asked. "It's just a lighter, mate," I told him, shrugging. Like I alluded to above, I don't like Keith Haring all that much, and I didn't mind the idea of parting with it. We had lighters in the hotel room anyway. We'd just forgotten to bring them with us. No big deal. "Take it," I offered. The suited man ignored me and reached into his pocket to retrieve his wallet. Now he's counting out hundreds out loud. Jeez. His fingers...
He's counting out loud.
100, 200, 300. Dare I go on? His fingers flicking through the bills in a spidery way that's unsettling to watch. Yeah, 100, 200, 3, 4.
Did you like me count the count from Sesame Street? 300s.
What the hell is going on? I forget what I said. Something bewilderingly passive and non-confrontational, like, "It's okay." I just wanted the suited man to walk away with the lighter. I regretted ever inviting him to approach us. There was something about standing so close to him that felt like standing on the edge of a dizzying height. Once he counted past $1,000, my little sister blurted something out. I think it was, "You're crazy." I'm almost certain that's what she said. My little sister didn't sound amused or entertained by the situation. She sounded more shocked and weirded out. It was the voice you'd use with the creep at the bar. The suited man stared bloody daggers at her. It was terrifying. His eyes lit up with pure malice, and his lips peeled back for a moment in this awful, awful snarl. "We're talking," he growled at her. Just those 2 words, and they felt so loaded. "The men are talking," it said. Then the suited man looked at me with reproach, like I was at fault for not having her under control, for letting the girl interrupt our important business. "It's just a lighter," I repeated, sounding more like a person being mugged than someone being offered money. "All I wanted was to get some distance between us. You can have it. I don't need it." This was not the answer that he wanted. He'd already counted the grand he had in his wallet, and now he was pulling more loose cash out from his pockets in a weird frenzy.
Pulling out 20s and 1s and 5s, some change.
1,001?
I'll give you every damn dime in my pocket for this lighter.
I'll give you the deed to my house.
Just keeps escalating. Here's the keys to my car.
What the fuck do you want? Do you want my suit? At this point, he's insisting that I give him a price for it. Any price. He honestly seems kind of worried now. Scared, maybe. He's like panicking. It's like he's trying to buy something he wants dearly, and he sees the opportunity passing him by.
I'd be like, you know what? I'm keeping this lighter.
Just look across the sidewalk. He's like, "Hey, dude, you want this for $5? Hell yeah!" He's like, "What the fuck?"
Hey, I had this lighter for free.
I've had a lot of friends ask me why I didn't take the suited man's money. Some almost seemed pissed at me for not taking it. If they believed me at all, that is.
It sounds fake.
The obvious answer is that I'm decently lucky in life, and I didn't need it. But that's not exactly what I think happened, though. It's just hard to explain this to people and to not have them focus on the money. It felt like the suited man was actually correct, somehow, and that I had been wrong. It wasn't just a lighter. It suddenly felt inexplicably valuable. Not the lighter itself, which was already in his pocket, but the transaction taking place. I was mugged at knife point in an Australian big city when I was a young man. I was scared then, very scared, but this was a different type of fear. I've only felt this kind of terror once in my life. There was no adrenaline, like the fight or flight in me had been muffled somehow. It was like being soul-sucked by a dementor, as silly as that sounds. Every second spent even discussing this transaction was spiritually draining to the point of actual physical exhaustion. I told the suited man no one last time. Then my little sister and I promptly began walking in the other direction. Pretty soon we were running. In broad daylight, running down the street like someone was chasing us. We made it to the hotel and we rode the elevator in total silence, both still shaken by the encounter. Once we got into our room, we started smoking in the bathroom like degenerates, and suddenly this profound wave of relief came over us. We were giddy like you get when you have a near-death experience. Finally, one of us asked, "Was that the devil?" And the other answered instantly, because we'd both been thinking it. It's a story that feels both silly and underwhelming to tell, but it still makes me uneasy thinking about it. I think the devil was trying to buy her soul from me. Lord. Yeah. That was intense.
That escalated quickly.
It was a good story, though. I didn't realize it was going to be that long. It came out of nowhere.
I want to buy your soul.
We're talking. 1,000.
The meta
2,000.
All right. This one is a strange camping experience. A few years ago, I was camping with some old friends in East Tennessee. This is a lesser known campsite that is not well known, that is not very well marked. There is a road crossing a creek, and on the right side there is a single campsite where we were, and on the left side there is a string of maybe 4 campsites following down the creek. The road is on higher ground, so you have to make your way down a hill on either side. About 1:30 a.m., 2 big pickup trucks pull up and set up at the first campsite across the road. We all thought it was really strange that people would be getting there so late. After some time and unloading, they got a huge fire burning and had a very bright lights that lit up their whole area. They also had a small, tall stand-up tent, like some type of pop-up changing/privacy room. That was it. This is where it started to get weird. and my memory is not completely reliable because alcohol was involved. This
Good
girl
old
looked really
alcohol.
pretty. Just kidding. It looked to me like they had some type of weird outfit on, like robes, jackets, or some other clothing of importance, maybe purple or dark blue in color, and they kept going in and out of the tent while the others were moving about and around the fire. It was so bizarre to us that we couldn't help keep peering over at them every so often to see what they were doing.
It's like, we're just trying to camp, man. Leave us alone.
Like, yeah, we were just out dancing by the fire and some weird people were just looking at us from the woods. Anyways, whatever it was, it seemed ritualistic. Not saying it was a crazy cult or anything, but
It sounds like a crazy cult or something.
But that's what we thought at the time. None of it made sense to us. They would have known there were other people around because of the cars. So secrecy obviously wasn't a concern of theirs. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't typical relaxing by the campfire and making some s'mores kind of camping. They were doing something, and they were all night doing it. I saw them leave early in the morning, but didn't notice anything crazy. I do remember that they had several trash bags in the back of their trucks. My only normal explanation is that maybe they were doing some type of volunteer trash cleanup.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a cleaning project.
Team building or hazing of some type of biological study. Has anyone ever witnessed something like this or have any ideas of what it could be? Hang on. So said a mofo. Yeah, we no comments really answered that. That's funny.
Some type of community project?
Some type of like charity.
Yeah, they're doing charity. All right, this is called My Sister's Haunted Dolls. The oldest of my 3 sisters had 3 Victorian-looking porcelain dolls from one of her family members. Any time I would be in her room, it was always freezing, and just looking at the dolls gave me the heebie-jeebies. My sister moved out of the room, went off to college. She didn't want the dolls to get damaged, so she left them in the bedroom. She just wanted to leave her demons behind is all.
My demons.
I didn't know this, so I moved into that room. At the time of this happening, I was in 6th grade, and that's when my school district opens band up as a class. I decided I wanted to play trombone, so I did. I always had the instrument in its case up against a wall. The entire thing in its case weighed about 10 pounds. A few nights after I moved into the room, one of the dolls shifted. It was the creepiest one. She had dark hair and a dark red dress. When she leaned to the side, my trombone fell over. Even though it was about 3 in the morning and I was scared out of my mind, I got out of bed and picked my trombone back up and went back to bed. The next night, the same thing happened, but this time the trombone was pushed 5 feet into the middle of my room. After it stopped, my fan that I had always had on a low setting just stopped. And almost right after that, all of the papers and homework on the desk flew off. I was scared shitless, but I picked my bedroom up, went back to bed. The next night, and every night after that, I would wake up at about 4 in the morning to some invisible force sitting on the side of my bed, stroking my hair. My door was always closed, so my cats couldn't get in, and there's no way my fan could have caused this. I was constantly trying to debunk it. Then we moved the dolls to the basement. We had an Xbox in the basement, and whenever I would game with my friends, I'd always feel like I was being watched. Then it started playing with my hair. I even had a friend over, and she got grabbed. We have since moved, and I have no idea where the dolls ended up, but I'm sure as hell glad that they're not where I live anymore. Dolls are fucking creepy, man.
Yeah.
All right, so that is going to wrap up the stories for tonight, but it's been a long time since we turned on the spirit box, so we're going to do a couple minutes of hopefully talking to Gary. Was it Gary?
No, it was Chris, bro.
Oh, yeah. We're hoping to do a couple minutes talking to Chris, our ghost friend, and see what else we can get. So we're going to turn the spirit box on now.
What? Well, ghosts, welcome to Enter the Abyss. Do we have anybody here with us tonight? What is your name?
Stan? Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounds like a Stan.
Is it Stan? What about Chris? Are you here with us, Chris?
Do you remember either of our names?
Together.
It was clear, but I couldn't tell what it was. Can you say our names?
What state do we reside in?
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to tell us? How many of there are you?
Usually do names.
Round.
Do you want to say anything?
Look.
How did you die?
I. Be.
I'll have to listen to it later.
Mind
Do you watch Cleet sleep?
What beverage am I holding in my hand?
He called you a sissy.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Next week we're talking about aliens. Have you seen aliens before?
I didn't know ghosts were such shy hoe wagons.
Many.
Many? Is there anything that you would like to tell our listeners?
All right, we're doing the 10-second countdown, people. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and goodbye.
Okay. I was like, where's the power
There
at?
you go. That was stupid.
Well, we're not done. You just signing off?
Yeah, I'm done. Just kidding.
Okay, so that's going to wrap up the episode for this evening. Again, we just want to give a huge shout out to our paid subscribers. We actually hit the first 10. Cleet and I were talking about potentially doing something special for the first 10 supporters of the show. And then if you do support the show, we'll probably have some tiers later on. But a huge shout out to our 10 supporters now: Clator, Lord of Soup, Curtis and Lara, Jackson, Supernatural Tessa, Modelo Time, Mothman, Devin C, Conklin Family, and Lou. I love that the list is getting longer, so if you want to support the show, we will post a link down below. Several tiers for you to choose from. We are getting really, really close to going out to the Clown Motel, and any dollar helps us get out or increase the show. We want to get a camera here pretty soon so you can look at our ugly mugs when we talk about scary shit.
All right, if you guys are listening to us on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, as it really helps us get us out there. And as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.